I wanted to give an impromptu take, or rather, an impromptu rant on some events that are happening recently that I feel has lasting significance on events moving forward. And of course, as I always say to my beautiful audience, like, subscribe, share, comment. As I always say, the shilling will come soon. You will have a way to give me mammons hopefully soon. Anyways, I feel that there is a lot of excitement and energy, but also despair going around. And I feel the same feeling I got around the tail end of 2013, 2014, going into 2015. We all know what happened. 2015, ground zero of the internet, Gamergate. But I only wanted to tangentially talk about Gamergate because what this video is about two things, really. Two things. Well, a few of them. A few things, but the linchpin between the two things will become a bit more obvious, or rather, if I prevent myself from rambling on for too long. Another thing too is I might as well get it out of the way. Hopefully, with the second topic, hopefully I'm not going to Fed post as much. But anyways, as soon as I start going through a good Twitter crawl, you know what's going to happen. Uh, the first topic is what's happening with the GameStop uh, counter insurgency against the hedge fund hyenas with MBAs who are doing things that in any like sane and rational world would probably be illegal, but the miracle of capitalism has to go on. The 10,000-year leap has to continue, despite the proles being crushed under innumerable pressures that have been in large part concocted by the globalist entities. And I don't want to go on like you know all the whole Alex Jones spiel, G. Edward Griffith, creature from Jekyll Island, Federal Reserve. I'm not here to talk about finance. This isn't really a way of explaining what's happening. That's if you want to if you want to if you want information on what's happening, then go elsewhere. For example, there's been Keith Woods did a video. Lewis Rossman, he did a really excellent few videos on the topic. But really, what I wanted to talk about, I wanted to give a huge shout out to a Twitter mutual of mine who I'm going to start off. Okay, so before I get to that, okay, so I wanted to talk about this in relation to the millennial collective unconscious and the hauntological future that was sort of robbed from us by the boomer powers that be and the systems that were overwhelmingly stacked against us. But not to say like a poor millennial sort of thing, but I want to get to a deeper level of thinking. The second topic is what's happened with Ricky Vaughn, which I will get to. Just as you know from the video, the video image I'm going to place, the thumbnail, the Thomas Wichter, the tweet seen around the world. They are literally using illegal memes. So I'm not going to get into like the too much of the specifics, but just what the implications would be if this court case really went on. So I'm popping in screen share the YouTube, not the YouTuber, the prolific Twitter poster that I am sharing right now. There we go. There we go. Share. Hopefully this works. Are we doing it? Okay, there we go. Okay. The prolific poster, Reality Gamer, Real Boy Physical. This tweet is the linchpin for it was sort of like, when something comes to you at the right moment where you are gathering your thoughts and you want to just perfect, like you want that moment of perfection to come, that wabi sabi, like, haphazard, not wabi sabi, sorry, that, satori moment of just like you see it on the TL and it comes to your lap. So here we go. 90s nostalgia as revolutionary force. GameStop, Blockbuster, and AMC are now symbolic sites of resistance against global capital, an irrational last stand in defense of a remnant of physicality against the miasma of untethered virtuality we're all in. So this has so many implications for, if you want to go like your standard Baudrillardian argument of the real being swallowed by the virtual, and the enfolding, again, that's a Deleuzian term, but the enfolding of the virtuality into actuality, the real being consumed by simulation. And I wanted to talk a bit about the hauntological implications of that. So here we have another tweet, just to get it out of the way, by Scott Greenberg. The rising share price of GameStop, AMC theaters, Blockbuster are unconscious manifestations of a pandemic era nostalgia for the old in-person economy. In this essay, I will blah blah blah. So that's like the tagline, the thesis statement. When you go to uni and they teach you like how to construct a proper thesis. I don't think I think I have done a few where it's like, in this essay, I will. It seems kind of like. But it's funny how the memification of stocks are even, uh basically the economy is not safe even from the, and there's me like saying I'm going to steal this tweet. The economy, it's so here we have another prolific poster, Terrible Tao, who's been on Breakthrough Rules, by the way. It's called Windows 95 Third Worldism. I love that. Windows 95 Third Worldism. I love that. And Roman Candle here with this excellent comparison of the helper, the Cliff Note, the what was it called? Not Cliff Note. The paperclip helper and the wheels within wheels, the true representation of the angel. So I love this tweet because what we're seeing right now is this impermeable force of mimetic energy geared towards basically dicking over the system. And I'm going to show you a thread by Hank Heil, who is another person who's followed me for quite some time. He had an excellent thread that blew up. Hopefully his account isn't nuked because of it. But basically, what we're seeing is millennials who have been overwhelmingly screwed at all turns. Screwed in every single way imaginable. Millennials and Zoomers, because the Gen X, hedge fund hyena, MBA people, the people, with MBA degrees, people who have financial power. I have this train of thought where basically the boomers were going to hand things off to the millennials, because the millennials were going to be like their perfect, like, radical children. They're like, even like, how like people called the boomers red diaper doper babies. Oh, sorry, that was Michael Savage. Red diaper babies. But millennials were like, I guess you could say pink diaper babies, but no, that's Zoomers. I'm sorry. No, I'm having too much fun. Basically, my thesis is that the boomers were going to hand things off to us millennials, but then they realized what, like, humongously incompetent fail sons and fail daughters we all were, and how we were basically infantilized by that post Cold War period of prosperity and peace and wealth. But notice that it's a prosperity that is before the dawn of the taking over of all life by the internet, by total simulacra. And notice how it is the last generation to know what it was like before digitality basically consumed every single aspect of our communication, of the way we view the world, of our very unconscious networkings and thought patterns and the deepest recesses, I would argue, of our souls itself. So the deepest recesses of our souls have been permeated with the giant abstract machine of simulation that is the internet. And so millennials are nostalgic for this tactile element that used to be present, the ritual of going to Blockbuster with your parents or with your friends, the ritual of GameStop, the ritual of going to theaters. Of course, now with the Chinese imported delicacy, theaters were basically, on its last legs. And you could say that these corporations, especially Blockbuster, basically, screwed themselves. I remember I've had, run-ins back in the day with a Blockbuster customer service my father has, and they were, I think, rated the worst. And I remember back in the day there was these phone crank, not crank yankers. That was a Canadian show, but there was the phone prank videos. I think the guy was named Venom 666 or something, where he would like call Blockbuster, and it was the Hank Hill soundboard from Realms of Darkness, the website, where they would call Blockbuster up, and Hank Hill was like, I always return my tapes. Punish whoever's at fault, whatever you think is fair. And I always loved that. And they started swearing at them. Like, they had horrendous customer service. Anyways, so what I was going to say, sorry, the thesis was that boomers were going to hand things off to millennials, but then they saw how we're basically, we were pressured into the expectation of having the same living standard as our boomer parents. And we were pressured by the expectation that we were not just going to be better, but we were forced into college, hence forced into debt, forced into serfdom to capital and to monolithic corporations becoming wages. And they realized that us millennials, we were basically given this platter that we couldn't, we were cashing checks. Sorry, not cashing checks. We were taking out loans we couldn't pay back. What's the phrase? Writing checks your ass can't cash. Basically, they made a collective decision to hand things off to their neglected, the middle children of history, the Gen Xers. And the Gen X people, some of them now in their 40s, they were the last generation to really truly feel like the system was handed off to them. This is my thesis, and I only have anecdotal evidence for this, blah, blah, blah. But you can see that even in the journalist spheres, all of the articles now, they're all geared towards Zoomers. The Zoomers are the revolutionary vanguard generation, and the millennials, they're already writing epitaphs for millennials. So here we're seeing this, Zoomers don't understand this in the sense that millennials really, especially later millennials who were born in the very late 80s, early 90s. I was born in the early 90s. They are almost like you could say a liminal. I know this word gets thrown out a lot. It's cringe, but it's almost like the late millennials are a liminal generation. I believe they're around the time I was born in the very early 90s. I was born in 92. Well, 93, technically 92, because I was born in December. So there was like a mini baby boom. And so that generation, they occupy a weird space in history of the generation right on the cusp, right on the transitionary period from one epoch, one episteme to the other. And so we were, people talk about the Gen X, but the Generation X, they pioneered the internet in the sense that they were old enough to explore the internet when it first came out, and so forth, etc. A lot of this, Silicon Valley, Californian ideology nerds, they were like Gen X technically, but millennials were really the generation that truly pioneered what life would be like under the total umbrella of this simulation grafted upon the real, and then eventually eroding the real to the point where we have nothing but the digital world. And especially with what's happening recently, within the last year. Uh, I can't say it because YouTube. Uh, Especially with what's happening, it seems that the real is just fuel for the virtual, for the happenings in the internet. And so what's happening with the what people are calling the game the GameStop Gate, because as Menafor said, Menoquion 4 said that we are cursed to relive 2016 over and over, but of course we're cursed to live 2015 over and over again. So I love this tweet by Real Boy Physical. I love the implication that millennials are nostalgic for. It's true, we are nostalgic for this. And I could argue that it's in some ways a poison, this constant nostalgia over our childhoods, because we knew what life was like before the chaos, the digital anima uh totally consumed our lives, and the womb sea of hyperconnectivity that is the internet, the sea of the internet, totally swallowing us whole, like Atlantis going into the ocean, supposedly. Uh, Shares of AMC Entertainment surged more than 200% as feverishly buyers continue. Oh boy. So the memetics, it's really, this other blue check was saying some terrible takes about how, well, think of it like, whereas Reality Gamer is saying this in the affirmative, he was saying it in the negative, saying that millennials are nostalgic for their childhoods, therefore they're going to pick meme stocks of like GameStop, Blockbuster, AMC. And so here we have, last stand in defense of a remnant of physicality against the miasma of untethered virtuality we're all in. So I would argue that, again, this is a hauntology. This is a re-invoking of what once was and what could have been, in terms of the way the internet was shaping out to be, in terms of what uh the 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 impermeable background of the financial situation we were in, the optimism, the tech utopianism, the cyberdelia of the 90s, how that was all swept away, how before the corporations decided to steamroll the internet and basically make it into ad space, slash pornography, slash corralling people into social media, so forth. I've gone on at lengths of this on Break the Rules, uh, with people like Fod Corp. And so before all of that, it is a specter haunting the present, the consciousness of millennials, to invade the digital with what once was the real at one point. So I have a quote here. This is from Mark Fisher's book, RIP, rest in peace, Mark Fisher. They did you dirty, man. Ghosts of My Life, writings on depression, hauntology, and lost futures. The lost futures aspect is, to me, it's a really gripping chapter. And he goes into like a lot of indie, like hipster art and stuff like that, pop music. But the lost future, the millennial has fundamentally been, I will get to this with another thread that I'm going to critique from a blue tick. But here we have a passage. This is from page 144. The digital seems to premise nothing less than an escape from materiality itself. In the story of William Basinski's 2002 album Disintegration Loops, a recording of tapes that destroyed themselves in the very process of their transfer to digital, is a parable almost too perfect for the switch from the fragility of analog to the infinite replicability of digital. What we have lost, it can often seem, is the very possibility of loss itself. Digital archiving means that the fugitive evanescence that long ago used to characterize, for instance, the watching of television programs, seen once and then only remembered, has disappeared. Indeed, it turns out that the experiences with which we thought we were forever lost can, thanks to the likes of YouTube, not only be recovered, but endlessly repeated. Then he goes on. Let's see. Uh, there is clear dimension. So this is page um 155. There is a clear Gnostic dimension to this. For the Gnostics, the world was both heavy and dark, and you got a glimpse of the outside through the glimmers and shimmers. Two recurrent words, and so he's talking about some Fox person's art. What's suppressed in postmodern culture is not the dark but the light side. We are far more comfortable with demons than angels. Whereas the demonic appears cool and sexy, the angel is deemed to be embarrassing and sentimental, which is true. Um, so here he's saying about how the possibility of loss itself is kind of gone, and how everything it's not true. I mean, the one thing I would disagree is that things get clipped on the internet all of the time. Like, they will selectively memory hole certain things, and corporations have tried to do this all the time, through various means. But I would say that it's apt in that, imagine, if you will, uh, this reality of the transference of the digital to, sorry, the analog to the digital, and the early internet versus the internet now, and how millennials sort of been swept up in these continual transformations that have left them behind, and have robbed the possibility of getting lost in something, that have robbed them of what our boomer parents knew as the luxury of tuning out, because we can never turn it off. We live in internet time, and the smartphone is always there, and the temptation to post, the temptation to be connected, this like feeling of missing out, FOMO, is the like terminal millennial nostalgia brain. Like, I think a lot of the millennial nostalgia that haunts us is partially due to the fact that we don't have those pure moments of just like living, like, I know, the meme, like, we're living in the moment, no cell phone in sight, because the cell phone is a representative of the submergence into constant discourse that alienates us, but also we have to sort of like, ride the waves of, ride the tiger. And so 90s nostalgia is revolutionary for us. So now the reel of a past life is invading the present through the mimetic energy of millennials trying to recapitulate their childhoods, because the boomers robbed us of our material future, of our imagined futures, and also the capacity for us to even experience unique culture itself, because boomer entertainment and boomer childhood visions basically were installed in the millennials without our consent. And Sam Chris has a brilliant article that goes into this. I should link it below. So this second quote, sorry, to quote the second tweet, the rising share price of GameStop, blah, 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 are unconscious manifestations of pandemic era nostalgia for the old in-person economy. So yeah, it's true. I mean, it's like that video that got millions of likes from like the last existing Blockbuster, where people were like, oh my God, the tour guide was like, see, you can't get candy when you just like go to Netflix. You can't do this. There was something about going. I remember going to Blockbuster and it hitting my nostrils. That smell like fresh, kind of like, when like a dollar store gets cleaned, sort of deal. That smell, and the popcorn and the people, and like going through the aisles and messing around with your friends. Oh God, I'm really, even my millennial nostalgia brain is kicking in. So let's see. But what are the implications of this? So before I get to the excellent, okay, so that's one. No, that's the Ricky Vaughn one. I will get to, let me see. I'm going to go over. I can't believe I did not plan this out. I'm going to go over to, let me just find the comment, because this tweet by Hank Heil, this series of tweets, is really just let me just stop screen share. No, we can get it. I'm totally not wasting time. No, it's funny how Okay, yeah. By the way, this was a good article. I could make a whole video on this article by my good mutual default friend. What is the value of restraint about sexuality and culture and so forth? Um, so let me find it. I love this meme, by the way. Look at this. Look at this. This is Chris Chan, by the way. Hedge fund guys went to a random GameStop. It started. Oh, I love that. I love that meme so much. Okay, let's see. This is the tweet that I was responding to. Verified's tweeting panic to defend monopoly capital and hedge fund hyenas trying to genie for the entire financial system itself. In essence, the final nail in the coffin occupy Wall Street. So this guy apparently he had to go on lock, by the way. People were just getting to him. I think it's funny when the bad things happen to Wall Street. This GameStop thing is not a joke. Our stock traders conspired to manipulate the markets in open view of us. Oh my god. Using the nuts for the laws, other side sucks. Equivalent of cheering on hackers when they're defacing websites of companies or governments, kind of like Weave. No, that's base. That's amazing. Well, those same hackers attack your website or your government. Yeah, I mean, attacking the great Satan. I wonder if that's so. Look at this. Look at he's going apoplectic. Okay, guys, since you are all here on my timeline, let me tell you what the asshole conspires on WSB won't sell that shit. Get your money. Don't. Oh boy. Apparently this article is fake, but I don't know. I'm it's like Poe's Law. It's like Poe's Law. But let me find you this thread by Hey Kyle. Oh good, he hasn't been banned yet, thank God. This is you're laughing. Oh boy. Look at that guy. This man of Fox News just said they should ban social media. Oh boy. Oh, I'll get to the Ricky Vaughn thing soon because it ties into it. Where is it? Come on, man. Don't hold out on me. Oh boy. Here we go. Oh, this is amazing. This thread right here sums it up to a T. So Hank Kyle, I think Hank Kyle, he does watch my videos. Brother, like this is amazing. Yeah. I don't know how I want to insurgency. Oh my god. We'll get to what's happening. So the mass elation caused by GameStopGate should seriously concern the elites. Basically, everyone under 40 is now orientated towards enjoying any victory over the elites more than any circus the elites can put on in front of them. So imagine, if you will, when material reality, material existence gets so bad to the point where, sorry, my voice cracked there, gets so bad to the point where people are not going to enjoy the spectacle any longer. They're going to, like as I argued in my essay on the post-Trump era in Bill Marchant's book, Ending Bigly, which please go out and buy Ending Bigly. I will put a link in the description to buy. The only way you could read my essay breaking down the art world after Trump is if you buy Ending Bigly by Bill Marchant. Anyways, enough with the shilling. All money goes to I believe a free speech charity cause. He doesn't make any money. I don't make any money. Standard. I don't make any money. Anyways, the mass elation. So when you have a counter spectacle, as I've enumerated in my article that you can only see in Ending Bigly, God, when you have a counter spectacle, you're creating a precedent through this response, like synthesis, like like a butchered version of the Hegelian dialectic. So, antithesis, then synthesis, you get the point. Basically, that the vast majority of the media, the financial people, the top quote unquote expert class, the economists, the people who are so invested in the system working, even if it means it doesn't work for average people, they're flipping their shit. They are going they're going like crazier than shithouse rats to like really hammer home these evil, terrible white supremacist memers on Reddit and Biz that are they're saying R words and F words, F slurs. It's just like it's so crazy. But the reason that they're doing this is because the reality is that the system is fundamentally weak on a certain level. However, I wouldn't buy into the optimism of saying that while the system is weak, therefore they're acting like this. They're flipping their shit over like one hedge fund going under. Imagine if all the hedge funds went under. I don't think it's that optimistic. I think that the system is very sophisticated in the sense that they can test resistances and act accordingly. And they'll just do things like they'll just openly manipulate the market and they'll just like have a mask off moment. They're like, okay, we don't care because the average pro isn't playing their part, which is like, when we don't give them a part to play anymore, when they're quote unquote non-essential to the economy, then you can just like basically wallow in your own filth forever and you could become the state of exception of bare life. So to continue, so then when you have a counter spectacle, things get really scary for the elites because then the bread and circuses just don't seem as shiny anymore. And because a lot of the instability that has been caused by the Chinese imported delicacy in terms of the Hollywood culture industry global media machine, therefore, people aren't going to be willing to hand out the money that they don't have to imbibe in typical repetitive nonsense that Hollywood and celebritards have forced upon us. And so their ability to create the spectacle, like, Lady Gaga going to the inauguration, like stuff like that, is just, to the average person, it's so sickening. It's getting to the point where it's so sickening. But anyways, lobbying the Trump grenade into DC was fun. Eventually, they shut that down by taking away the ability to participate in elections. Allegedly, this is YouTube, so allegedly, blowing up a bunch of Cohen's bank accounts is fun. Eventually, they will shut it down by taking away the ability to participate in markets. Yeah, they'll find some way of making sure that people who are like novice traders or people that are just doing it because they'd rather gamble their money on the stock market than like the system is so fundamentally distorted that there's no ability for them to recuperate anything, so it doesn't matter. Their problem is it's impossible to maintain, and this is the key point that Hank Heil is making. Their problem is that it's impossible to maintain a society that doesn't require the participation of those below them. They can, again, so there is always a rigid hierarchy in every society, whether you want to lie about it or not, but it's whether that hierarchy serves the average person at the bottom and the top. That they can never eliminate every vector the other classes have to strike back against them. And now there's a sense, albeit small, of class solidarity against them. Eventually, these sentiments flare up and they overreact in tampering them down over and over again. Eventually, everyone is so disenfranchised and disengaged that no one sees inherent value in maintaining systems that have no relation to. This is like brilliant. I love this. I love it. And so next to this brilliance, we have this absolutely unhinged thread. But before we get to this, let me read you a passage, because I've read you Mark Fisher, from David Graeber. This is, and again, I don't agree with a lot of things he says in this book, but this is The Democracy Project, A History of Crisis, a Movement, author of Debt, First 1,000 Years, Bullshit Jobs. So David Graeber was on the ground with Occupy Wall Street. And so here he's saying in very simplistic terms, the revolutionary movement emerged from such a situation is, this is page 70 to 71, is hardly new. For centuries now, the revolutionary coalitions have always tended to consist of a kind of alliance between children of the professional classes who reject their parents' values, the talented children of the popular classes who manage to win themselves a bourgeois education, only to discover that acquiring a bourgeois education does not actually mean one gets to become a member of the bourgeoisie. You see the pattern repeat over and over in country after country. Chua In Lai meets Mao Zedong. Che Guevara meets Fidel Castro. U.S. counterinsurgency experts have long known the surest harbinger of revolutionary ferment in any country is the growing of a population of unemployed and impoverished college graduates. That is, young people bursting with energy, with plenty of time on their hands. This ring any bells? Um, every reason to be angry and access to the entire history of radical thought through the internet, mind you. United States. So he's talking about Occupy Wall Street, but I mean, the conditions of Occupy Wall Street. The problem is that with David Graeber is that he didn't realize that the dream of Occupy Wall Street was going to be subject to the reterritorialization, the enfolding of resistances to power. So all of the woke-tard politics basically like tanked the main mission of Occupy Wall Street to get back at the people who have a real financial power, who are screwing over younger people under 40, essentially. So the budding revolutionaries cannot fail to identify banks as their primary enemy or to understand the role of the federal government, which maintains the student loan program and ensures their loans will be held over their heads forever, even in the event of bankruptcy, and maintain the bank system's ultimate control over every aspect of their future lives. So it's also not surprising that with the Great Recession that we're still struggling through, struck in 2008, young people were its most dramatic victims. In fact, this generation's prospects were, in historical terms, uniquely bleak even before the economy collapsed. The generation of Americans born in the late 1970s, so I would see even 1980s, early 90s. So in the 1970s, is the first U.S. history to face the prospect of living standards lower than their parents. Oh, imagine that. So you mean to tell me that the boomers robbed our future just to like prolong theirs for maybe a few more years? I wonder. By 2006, this generation was worse off than their parents at a similar age in almost every register. They received lower wages, less benefits, were more indebted, and far more likely to be either unemployed or in jail. Those who entered the workforce or finished high school could expect to find themselves at lower paying jobs, page over, than their parents found. So the immediate effect of this was to destroy much of what was most valuable in the college experience itself, which had once been the only 4 years of genuine freedom in an American's life, a time to not only pursue truth, beauty, and understanding as values in themselves, but to experience with different possibilities of life exists. So he's romanticizing the college experience, but really it's all about. He says it becomes all about hedonism or deferred adulthood, or it becomes a furbishing school for corporations. And he basically says that people who do that are soulless, and I agree with him. This is from 218. How can you try to eliminate it? Obviously, you can't, nor should you try. Some of the confusion comes from the fact that it in America, unlike many other places, activists were first introduced to consensus through the traditions of Quakerism, which had meant that for most activists, their first experience of consensus is rooted in genteel and frankly bourgeois sensibilities. And he's talking about feminism. Quaker and feminist-inspired consensus was useful corrective, but before long, a desperately needed feminist emphasis on mutual listening, respect, nonviolence, communication began shading into distinctly upper-middle-class cocktail party-style emphasis on politeness, euphemisms. Yeah, the degradation of activism. And I could say David Graeber is sort of responsible for this, being like a high-class academic himself, but it's just that the degradation of Occupy Wall Street into like this bourgeois, like kids of the elite, like F you mom and dad sort of deal. Then he's like talking about shunning people who are feds or Nazis or whatever. This bourgeois style has hardly been put to rest. In recent years, there's been a shift away from it. The best functional trainers, for example, have realized it's much better to say in effect, yes, we are passionate people. We are here because we care deeply, have strong emotions. Display of anger, frustration are just important and legitimate as those of humor and love. So this is really, I feel bad for Graeber in a lot of ways. I mean, he did do a lot of like cutthroat type of stuff, but the idealism of Occupy Wall Street was sort of like dead as a doornail. But I feel that if there was a genuine dissident coalition against the neoliberal order, the global neoliberal order, from the dissident right and the dissident left, they're going to try to prevent this from happening, of course, especially on the left side. Like, there's no chance in hell they're going to like say to them, like, yeah, it's okay to have a coalition with evil, racist, Nazi, Trump supporters. So this is really indicative of what the well, that's the Ricky Vaughn one. This is really indicative of what the people that basically have their thumb on the buttons of power. No, this is what they think of you. And I tweeted about this. What happened here? It's about sex, specifically young men not having enough sex. Incels. Sex leads to relationships and obligations. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Don't gamble your paycheck. We need to save our house. So, okay, let's see. Let's just the first one for a moment. So, the conditions you've created for the average person in North America, Europe, and so forth, and let alone the third world, the developing world, you've created conditions where it's becoming impossible to make a living, to support a family. But you're saying that, oh, well, the problem is that because of your romantic failings, and I don't want to go into the whole like manosphere, like 80-20 rule, incel science stuff, but you've basically created conditions where for the average young man, it's almost impossible to raise a family unless you're willing to find someone who is also willing, a partner who is also willing to radically transform their lives in terms of what most people call quote unquote success and normalcy. So a bored, angry young man is the most dangerous person in the world. Yes, I agree, but not in the way that you think, where it's like you have to crush them, you have to destroy their hopes, you have to pacify them. Uh, when countries have unemployed young men who are single, the likelihood of the country goes to war escalates. We have cut the share of wealth of young people in half. Yeah, okay. So you're getting the point. Arm young men in a base. Arm young men in a basement, not at work, not having sex, not forming connections, with an RH account, a phone number, stimulus, and you have the perfect storm of volatility as they wage war against established players while squeezing the dope bag harder and harder. Oh, wow. You mean to tell me that there is a growing sense of meaningful insurgency against people who have basically destroyed our futures? And you're saying that, well, oh my God, we have to like, I guess at this point, we're gonna have to give them, I don't know, government appointed GFs. I guess that's, anyways, that's just, this thread is ridiculous, but he sort of gets the point. The solution, okay, in second thought, maybe the solution might be government subsidized GFs. No, sorry, cut that. The solution isn't just like man up, stop being an incel. You're a terrible, evil, misogynist incel that also wants to tank the economy. The problem is the conditions of our serfdom, of our subjugation, of our servitude, rather, to the system is getting increasingly terrible. And any blow against the system itself, irregardless of the consequences, is cheered on for good reason. Because if you are living where in a state where you don't have a future, you're not, there's no prospect that you're going to get married and have kids, there's no prospect that you have any sort of economic stability, these literal millionaire and billionaire people whining and crying over enough shit posters, basically banding together and saying enough is enough. To me, it's just the reaction from people who are supposedly our expert classes in the media, journalists, finance people. Like, the reaction to this, I bring it up a lot, but it's true. The Sam Hyde quote, when we win, don't forget these people. How does the quote go? They want you broke, dead, your kids raped and brainwashed, and they'll laugh at you because they think it's funny. So, speaking of which, I'm trying not to Fed post here, but this is recently they're indicting Ricky Vaughn. And let me give you a little Ricky Vaughn was stabbed in the back by people. I'm not going to get into it. It's old news, but I feel really I'm very upset at this because I remember back in the day when I first started on Twitter, Ricky Vaughn was one of the first big accounts to actually respond to me. I think he followed me back at one point. Notorious troll and white nationalist Ricky Vaughn, real name Douglas McKay, charged with election interference and this person is from NBC. Yeah, NBC News. I used to be a librarian. Oh wow. No shit. So charged with election interference for disseminating misinformation. So basically for spreading memes in a little bit more of a sophisticated manner and doing a public trolling. There are people that say that this is going to get thrown out, by the way. But look at the response. Because I know it's the friend enemy distinction here, but look at the response. They don't care about the consequences of this. They don't care about destroying internet discourse. And again, this ties into what's happening with the GameStop thing and the response to it. Because people are calling for even more open-faced, bald-faced censorship of the internet itself. And illegal memes are going to become a thing. So Thomas Wichter was right. Illegal memes are going to become a thing. So that's not being charged. That language. Fake polling location. He didn't set up anything. It was a meme edit. My God. And I love this conspiracy. Why didn't the DOJ persecute this during the Trump? And they're also they're going with the Russian narrative. They're actually going 4-year delay. These people want blood. Seriously. I wanted to get to the quote tweets here. Hopefully it loads. Let me just clear the deck. It's just, to me, it's sickening. It's almost like I don't know what to say anymore, because they want to police discourse to such an extent because memes matter. to quote meme analysis, memes matter to the extent that they're basically waging war on the systems of power that are set up on the global neoliberal order. And it's to the point where they are actually, so here's an article, they actually want to police. It's not just policing speech. I know the freedom of speech argument is tired and doesn't really matter because freedom of speech is not an end in itself. But basically, they really want to hammer home their omnipotence under the Biden administration. 31 accused of spreading disinformation online to suppress votes for Hillary Clinton. Oh, suppress votes. It's just, it's so crazy. It's ridiculous. I really spreading disinformation. So when news outlets do it, when they spread, for example, the Russia stupidity for 4 years, they will sink in and they will grit their teeth and they will deny reality. But when you do it, you are a dangerous, evil insurgent that is spreading disinformation. What does that even mean in a, quote unquote, post-truth world? In the postmodern implosion of meta narratives. Look at this. I love the text. Oh boy. But what does that even mean? That doesn't, it's just, it's so ridiculous at this point. It's just, anyways. So these are the quote tweets. These people, they literally, they're not thinking about anything. And the worst one is Nick Lynn. No, I'm kidding. I love you, Nick Lynn. Ricky Vaughn guy was so good at Twitter. It's not difficult to understand why they hate him. Oh boy. Oh, if the cocked up insulting bullshit case against him succeeds, the American legal order will have crashed to sub-Soviet levels. So here we go. An actual case of election fraud. I'm going to skip past some of the obvious ones to like the real verifieds. Um, I wanted to go to one. How many of them named peers can face justice? Oh boy. Whoa, capital terrorist. Seems like FBI keep going. Sleep well. I like these people. It floors me. They don't realize the implications of this. I wanted to get to like a few of them specifically, some of the bigger ones. Oh, it's too much. It's too much. There was this one that was quite comical. Imagine going to jail for memes, lol, stupid. I can't. I'm trying not to Fed post here. I'm trying not to Fed post. But essentially, the way this ties into the first part about what's happening is that again, the subversive creativity of meme culture is now being policed. And oh, this is the ghoul. This is the ghoul that wanted to basically lock up half the country. She went on private for a bit because people were just ratioing this abominable tweet thread she had. Justice Booner alert! Did I do that? I imagine that's what her voice is. CEO, founder of Fiddlehead. How do you, I don't care. Audit the vote. Yeah, not audit the Fed. Audit the vote. Right. Um, They're also seen across Facebook in Spanish. If the FBI wanted more evidence of disseminating misinformation to private individuals that are constitutional right to vote, it needs to be please. This just brightens my day. Oh, is this Chris Cluey? The guy is that the guy from the? Oh my God, the guy from the Gamergate day. Oh, this keeps getting better. I remember this guy. This particular chuckle fuck quite well for the Gamergate days. Everything is Gamergate. Everything is Gamergate to them. They will. It's the 9/11 of the internet. They can never live it down ever. Amazing. Elections have consequences. Maybe not the kind you had in mind when you tried to interfere in them. Interfere with illegal memes. Interfere with them. Oh, it's just so ridiculous. This is Clown World. Oh, this is Clown World. Handful of co-conspirators. Suspended account belonged to Tim Gannon, aka Baked Alaska. If I recall correctly, was Baked Alaska not the first one to drop Ricky Vaughn? No, sorry, this is just e-drama I'm not going to get into. It's just, to me, it's just incredible. Am I reading this correctly? What the fuck is happening? Yeah, it's just, most of these replies are AI generated. They're actually arresting people for memes now. Oh, boy. Oh. It's just, oh, of course, obligatory Antifa account. What does this say? The hips keep coming. Woo! Woo! Anti-fascists! Oh my God! Cheering on the neoliberal establishment! Oh, the Biden administration is a gift that keeps giving, doesn't it? Will things get worse? Yes. Will things get more interesting? Yes. Will things get more hilarious? Yes. I can't take it anymore. I wanted to find this one. Oh, my boy Cowboy Online. Tech was all gonna end up in jail, aren't we? Oh, the sheer number of people arrested for crimes on behalf of Donald Trump is truly staggering. 2016's never over. Oh my God. It's just, it's mind-boggling. These people, they're I mean, hopefully the reality of it is that he does get, this court case gets thrown out. It's so just, I have no words. It's so jaw-droppingly ridiculous. Trolling and phase up 10 years, we live in an insane asylum. It's true, we do. Oh God, Carolyn. Oh no, sorry. I was thinking of the other one, Catherine O. To use social media platforms, including Twitter, just send me fraudulent messages, granting clearance words. Okay, yeah. So, Where is this one I was looking for? It's just like the amount of people that are cheering this on is truly staggering. Um, and people are just it's oh my god. Noel Blum. I used to get in Twitter fights with this douche. Oh wow, you mean the guy that wow, Noel Blum, stunning take, Noel. That's amazing. I mean, what are you implying by that? You used to get in Twitter fights with this douche. I wonder. Um oh, Eric Garland. Wow, isn't this guy oh yeah, he's a glowy. That's right, he's a glowy. I'm glad this story about Trump campaign Russia targeted assault. American vote got 16,000 retweets. Oh my god, I'm further sickened to hear that Vermont was part of the attack. Um, faced 10 years of books being thrown. Books being thrown. Wow. Uh, troll arrested, face 10. Typical boomer. Troll arrested, face 10 years. Good. I don't even have any intelligent point anymore about this. This is just like it's just like to me it's mind rot. It's just anyways, I wanted to quote Baudrillard before I leave. Um I 10 years for shit posting Joe Country. Yes, exactly. Um yeah. I wanted to find this one that was anyways, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was just going to make fun of this woman, who cares? Um Busted. Trump's most wanted white nationalist. White nationalist. Oh my god. If you know the backstory of Ricky Vaughn, then it's just it's disheartening to say the least. Put it that way. Um, and I understand that this was probably going to come, but oh wow Canadian lib trying to be relevant. Wow, FY Canadian politics. He was one of the small number of accounts Ezra, the rebel, personally followed and often amplified during this period. Oh, wow. Now, Ezra Levant, I'm not standing Ezra Levant, although I do retweet him from time to time. He's done some pretty scummy stuff behind the scenes, but uh, I don't know. It's just Ezra, you know, yeah. So Ezra Levant, he's got some skeletons in the closet, but it's different from me being a Canadian because Ezra was like known as the free speech champion back when he went against the human rights commissions. So it's just endless. It's endless. So this is a quote from Jean Baudrillard to just leave off this impromptu video. We find the same situation in the economy. On the one hand, the battered remnants of production and the real economy. On the other, the circulation of gigantic amounts of virtual capital. But the two are so disconnected that the misfortunes which best beset that capital, stock markets crashes and other financial debacles, do not bring about the collapse of real economies anymore. It's the same in the political sphere. Scandals, corruption, and the general decline in standards have no decisive effects in a split society where responsibility, the possibility that the two parties may respond to each other, is no longer part of the game. This paradoxical situation is, in a sense, beneficial. It protects civil society, which remains of it, the vicissitudes of the political sphere, just as it protects the economy, which remains of it, from the random fluctuations of the stock exchange. Well, not anymore. In the international finance, the immunity of one creates a reciprocal immunity in the other. The economy and politics, a mere indifference. Better, real society is losing interest in the political class while nevertheless availing itself of the spectacle. At last, then, the media has some use, and the stock of the society of the spectacle assumes its full meaning in this fierce irony. The masses availing themselves of the spectacle of the dysfunctions of representation through the random twist in the story of the political class corruption. All that remains now to the politicians is the obligation to sacrifice themselves to provide the requisite spectacle for the entertainment of the people. So, this is what Baudrillard is saying, and this is what we're seeing in part with Ricky Vaughn, is that the spectacle is decaying. One order of it. And the Biden presidency is a sure indicator that the typical, like, Clinton, Obama era neoliberal politics, they don't have a very long shelf life, hopefully, but they're going to find a way to keep this going forever. And the way they're doing that is by clamping down on the virtual and the mimetic energy of disenfranchised young men, mostly people like Ricky Vaughn, who have shitposted their way into the attention of the mainstream. And for these ghouls that I've just seen on my screen cheering on the clamping down of Ricky Vaughn and others, no matter how repellent you find his politics, it is in essence the death of both the idealism of the Californian ideology, tech utopianism, the promise of a free internet as a final frontier of civilization to unleash a near metaphysical wellspring of energy upon the world for the few who could handle it. But now that normies are by and large colonizing the internet at the behest of corporations and woke capital and so forth, they have to corral um, the original ethos of shitposting on the internet. They have to corral it. They have to close it off. They have to legitimately persecute people over illegal memes. They have to destroy what they cannot compete with, because they cannot compete with the mimetic energy, with the memes of production of people on the internet, of the anons on the internet. Therefore, they have to find ways to crush it and to silence it and to shut it down. And what Baudrillard is saying is that now that the spectacle is changing, it's a result of this, conglomeration of neoliberal politics, like the managerial state, the therapeutic managerial state, and postmodernism itself, where politics matter but they don't, the economy matters but it doesn't, where they can just print money, it can go on forever. All the economy is a simulation because there is no consequence. But the moment there is real consequences involved to people that do wield power over us, then they're going to shut it down. They're going to go absolutely apoplectic, and they're going to start to really clamp down on people, both in the mimetic sphere, in the cultural sphere, because they, totally have a monopoly over cultural production. And you will get severely punished if you try to interfere with that monopoly, unless you are willing to pay the price, as I have as an artist, of sacrificing what most people consider a normal bourgeois life in order to pursue a higher end. And I feel that Ricky Vaughn, you know, from what I've seen of him, for people have said of him, I feel like he was in a way one of those true shitposting artists who were trying to really shake things up in ways that were clever, in ways that were like, radically subversive to the norm of discourse. And it was a bit more sophisticated than just posting, gamer words on an anonymous internet board. But now that they're closing down, they're going to shut down. Hope, you don't know. I mean, it's speculation, but it's looking like they want to basically limit the ability of average people to conduct trading. They're going to find ways to rig it. They're going to clamp down on dissidents of all stripes. They're going to clamp down on mimetic production. And in the cultural sphere and in the economic sphere, this is all tied together. They don't know what to do with vast sums of people, especially young men, who have nothing left to lose and who are willing to do anything it takes from the comfort of their own basements to dick over the system. And even if this might result in chaos and people quite possibly ending up in worse shape than they are, I feel like things are going to get so desperate. People are going to look for a W in any way they can against the system itself, that we're going to see really strange and weird shakeups in the political order. We're going to see people who are going to be labeled as dissidents. And I'm, covering this in my article. Hopefully it'll be published in IM 1776. By the way, great article by my good friend DC Miller called Anti-Fascism in IM 1776. I highly recommend this article, along with Buying Winning Bigly. But anyways, They're going to clamp down and it's going to be ugly, but people are going to become hopefully increasingly aware of what's happening. And I truly feel that maybe people within the elite, they're starting to realize it, but they have to like exist in their own reality tunnel. But like these verified journalists, these like Jannies for the system, like low level PMC managers, academics, quote unquote experts, functionaries, the private managerial people, they're never going to get it because they're so over socialized. They depend on the system itself and its legitimacy for their very existence. Therefore, they will cheer the persecution of people literally sharing memes on the internet. And to me, it's sick and disgusting. And these people are my enemy. And ideologically, of course, I don't, I'm not Fed posting here. I'm saying that, in the war of ideas, the info war, which is a proxy for a spiritual war, a mimetic spiritual warfare that we're engaging in. So this has been an off the cuff rant. And like I've said, like, subscribe, share, comment. I'm really, I'm fired up here. And I didn't have that great of a day. And I just wanted to get my thoughts out and this connection between what's happening with the GameStopGate and Ricky Vaughn and the new political realignment, not between left and right, although it does factor into it, but rather dissidence against the global neoliberal order. So thank you. And as I always say, God bless and goodbye.